Welcome back to the channel. We got more car parts. God, I love car parts. Yep, we're going to be installing more parts on the Civic today. Today we're doing a Acuity cold air intake, and we're going to show you guys step by step how to install this system. It's not that complicated, to be honest with you. I mean, you start reading the instructions and you know, it seems a lot more complicated than it actually is, but I will tell you, this kit is very nice. It's very comparable to the, almost identical to the Skunk 2, but the Skunk 2, you have to cut your mass air wiring harnesses. Hell no. You've got to cut your positive and negative battery sensor wires. Hell no. And this kit, you don't have to cut anything. They provide you with a mass air extension harness, and you know, it's well thought out. The battery, negative battery terminal, you just unbolt it from where it is, unplug the sensor wire, and you move it to the battery tray, and they also give you an extension for that. So you're not cutting anything. The only thing you're doing is just popping off a couple of clips that hold the wiring to the radiator support, and untaping and removing one wire and pulling it back out of the plastic conduit wire protectant. But yeah, it's a good kit, and hope you guys enjoy this video. Okay, so we already removed the battery, as you can see. Now we're going to go ahead and get all this out of here, the intake tubing, the intake box. That's all pretty simple. You know, the intake box, you got two bolts, one there, and you got another one on this side over there, and the back part just pop in two rubber grommets, so you pop the whole thing off, but you have to disconnect the mass air plug and remove these two hose clamps here, that one there, and another one down there that go to the intake. Phillips head. Loosen up this clamp here with the Phillips head and take the whole thing off. Okay guys, once you take all that stuff off, this is what you'll have. I like the way this looks. A lot of room. Everything's easy to get to. It's the only thing I don't like about this kit is where the battery goes. I'd rather have one like the I forget what the name of that kit is. I think it's the PRL or whatever, that puts the battery down there, down here somewhere. But whatever. Okay, so now we gotta unbolt the computer, the PC out of the way, and I have to do some of the wiring harness. Do some unclipping of the wiring harness here. You gotta take that clip off there. You gotta remove this bracket here from the computer, which was originally bolted to the battery tray, which used to be right here. And I have to unclip some of this wiring here for it to be long enough to make it to the battery. I mean, to the you know, where the battery's going to be. and the ground here, down here, this cable. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, so this is everything unbolted. Small bolt in here that you can get to with a wrench. Just pull this aside like that, and you can get to it with the 10mm wrench from up here. You don't have to take the NFL one off. You have to take it off anyways, but I took it off before because it was there. And then you have to unclip this from your negative battery terminal, the sensor, and you unbolt the negative battery terminal from here, and you put it aside because you're going to use it later. And you unclip the positive from this bracket here. Take that out of there and you pull it out because you're going to be putting this wire over the top of the radiator hose to give you room to move it back to the battery when it goes over here. And then you have to put a jack under the transmission to support the transmission, and then you take the motor mount bolts out to put the battery tray in. Okay, so guys, next thing you got to do is you got to take that plastic connector off and take all the ones from the bottom. I unbolted, there's a bolt underneath here. Take that out in the clips, and this will all come down like this, and then you can get to the inside bolt, which is right there, and that will remove the rest of the air intake box. It will be completely out of the car, and you don't have to take it all off. Just pop this one off here, and there's like some here. Pop it up till you get to like halfway parallel with the coil spring, and then you can bend this back and get all that stuff out of there. And another thing you got to do is I've already started putting in the battery tray too. You just take it simple. You just put a jack under the tranny to support it, and then you take the 3 bolts out. You put the battery tray in, and you put the 3 bolts back in. I'll tell you guys, the quality of this Acuity stuff is just unbelievable. I love it. Everything's like very, very well made. Get these started. Oops. Kind of tough doing this and holding the camera at the same time. Sorry guys, but so you just put that in, tighten those 3 bolts down, and then you can let the jack back down. I do want to do a complete set of, I'm not going to mess around with it. I'm just going to order a complete set and be done with it. I'm going to replace every single motor mount with the heavy duty urethane ones. Okay, so another tip for you guys that I did in the instructions from Acuity. They tell you to get under the car and take the radiator cap off the car and loosen the drain at the bottom of the radiator and drain your antifreeze. Well, what I did was I took the clamp off. I loosened the clamp with a pair of channel locks, slid it back to like here, and I pulled the hose off. You gotta loosen it first with a screwdriver, and then play around with it till you get it right to the edge. If the car's cold and it's been sitting, there ain't gonna be really a lot of antifreeze inside of there. So what I did was I put a little tiny little pan under here. Okay, put a little pan under here, right under the hose, and with one hand I grabbed the hose, I pulled it off, and with the other hand I just slipped the battery wire over the hose and put it back on. I must have lost like probably, if that, a shot glass of coolant. So I didn't lose that much at all. But I'm still going to buy some because I don't have any coolant for this car. But yeah, it's a little trick there that you can use to, without having to drain the whole freaking car, from with antifreeze. But yeah, but back here you have to unclip this wire right here. You have to unclip this wire and pull it off, because if you don't, that's attached back here to this wiring harness here. So you got to unclip this one, then it'll allow you to move it. It'll allow you to move it all the way to the front where the hose is, and then you just pop the hose off, pop that over the hose, and put the hose back on. Done. Now you got your battery positive terminal where you need it, which is on top of the radiator hose. So that part is done. So all that's left is you got to mess around with the clips here. You got to take this apart here too, because this and this here, I imagine, because this has to go all the way back. Well, actually, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to go that far. It's got to go right there. So it's actually in the right place already. If I didn't want to move that, I don't think I'd have to. It's actually right there, because if you flip the battery around, the positive terminal will stay here, and you clamp it onto the battery. Yep, clamp it onto the battery, and then right here on the battery bracket, on this piece, you're going to reuse your bolt, which used to be here. If you've noticed, I put that back in place. I like to put the screws back so I don't lose them just for now. So you're going to take that screw out of there, and you're going to bolt your negative cable to here, which is ground, because that's bolted to the frame with the motor mount bolts. So you're going to ground it right there, ground it, bolt it right there, and that's it, you're done. And then we have of course, the extension for the mass airflow harness. That's going to extend this way down to here. Yeah. Not too crazy about this. The battery, the only thing I don't like about this kit is where they put the battery. It's pretty much the same shit as the Skunk 2. I just don't like the battery location, but it is what it is. So once you get all those clips out, you can pull down the liner like this, and this is why I said just go halfway in line with the coil spring. You can pull this down like this. Okay, so another thing that everybody, that a lot of people break when they take out of the car is this piece right here. If you look at it, it's got a little tab on it here, and that's what locks this on the hose. A lot of people end up carrying that hose. I mean, it's not a big deal, but there's 3 bolts holding this intake on. One is there, one is here, which you get from inside. You get from inside the car. I mean, from the top of the car, and then there's another one that's in here, right there. That's this one, and this goes in there like that. This goes in there like that, and you pop it off. So what I did was, if you look at it, you'll see there's a hole in it, and this little tab lines up with that hole. Then you just pop it off. So I just sprayed WD-40 in there, and the thing came right out. The thing came right out. And I got the whole intake out now. So now you don't want nothing in your way. So now I can put my inner fender well, actually I'm not going to put it back in yet because I have to. I'm going to need to get in there after to tighten the filter to the tube. So then you take your ground cable that you had before and you bolt it on down here. There's a little tab that sticks out on the battery bracket. That's the exact thread for the bolt that was on the negative battery back on the front. So you bolt that back in, and it even has a little notch for the washer or the lock piece there that locks so it don't twist. It even has a little notch so that fits in there so it moves, and you can tighten the bolt and the cable won't move at all. So that's done. And the negative battery terminal is all set. Still got to do some work here to the positive, but
the hell is that, Lou?
Okay, so when you do it after, you take the connector that was holding the negative battery cable to the other wire, which was over here. The one you took off of that, you reuse it again for over here. You clip it back on to the negative battery cable, and the other end holds the battery sensor wire. And then they all run nice and neat right by here. And then at the end here, they send you some purple zip ties. I just used one, and I didn't tighten it too much. I just left it loose because, you know, you're gonna be moving this wire in and out like that to wherever you need it. So I just left it loose like that. And then the next step is we're gonna slide in the battery tray. Slide in the battery. And I'm gonna give this a quick wipe. Give this a quick wipe so it's nice and clean. And then we can put the battery in, back in, and that part will be done. The wiring is pretty much done, except for wiring's pretty much done, except for one other thing I gotta do is this wire right here, this clip. You have to unclip this wire from here. You have to unclip that, push it down, so you can unwrap some of the electrical tape in here, and you're gonna pull some of that wire out of this harness here. Pull about 6 inches back so that you can plug this connector back into the positive battery connector there, and you're good to go. That's that's it for the wiring. And then of course we have the mass airflow plug here. That's zip tied to the battery tray. Once we put the intake in the tube and all that, then we just clip this into the mass air, and that's it. That's it for wiring. So this kit's pretty awesome. You don't have to cut any wires like on the Skunk 2. You don't have to cut anything. You just pretty much just unclip the wires from here, which is the spot where the power battery cable used to be clipped to here, and the negative was on this side. And you just basically all you do is unclip it and then pop off the radiator hose and pull that over, and you're good to go. And you don't have to do nothing else. I mean, Acuity recommends to take this off here and the red clip, but I'm going to try and leave it there. If it doesn't get in the way, you know, if it doesn't get in the way, I like the clip there. It keeps. If it doesn't get in the way, I'm not taking it off. I'm just going to leave it on. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. If I have to take it off, I'll take it off. You know, it is what it is. But for now, I'm not planning on it. I think there should be enough room to get this thing in on the battery here, and still be able to use the battery holder hooks and pieces. So now we'll put the battery in, and then next is going to be the intake. So there we have it, folks. I got the positive terminal on, and all I got to do is just connect the negative in the back. But I'm not doing that yet because I still got to do still got to put on the intake. Last thing to do now is just all the wiring's done. I pull the wire back here to connect to here, which is the positive. Battery connector. It's the positive battery wire. So that's on. All the wiring is complete, and now all we got to do is put on the intake. Fit this hose on here, the size that Acuity supplies. Fit that to size and connect it to the intake, and that's it. It will be done. And then connect the conical filter down inside the fender, and we'll be ready to fire this thing up and see how it sounds. So here we go, guys. She's done, and she's finally running. The hardest part about this, you gotta leave all the clamps loose. This one, and the two down there, and you gotta slide the 90 on down underneath. Under here, and you just slide it on, twist it into the best position that you like, that fits, and just tighten up the clamps, and that's it, done. You put all the clips back on the inner fender well. I had to buy new ones because you know, I didn't really pry on them too much or anything. I was very gentle with them so I wouldn't break it, but every single one I took off, well, not every single one, but majority of them broke. So I had to go out and buy new ones, and I was going to go there anyways to get some antifreeze. But yeah, it is pretty nice looking intake. Thing's beautiful. There you have it, guys. She's all done. I am going to do some driving exhaust sounds and intake also. Exhaust intake and intake sounds. You guys will love that. Yeah, so I got the car running. She's been running for a while now, and filled up the antifreeze, and she's now running with the header and the cold air intake, and no cats. And so far, you know, I mean, I know this is just idling in the driveway, but so far no service engine light, no nothing. But I am going to throw a tune on it that I got from Vid Viper, and we're going to start tuning the car now. Hope you guys enjoyed this install video. I'd like to go back and touch on a couple of things before we end this video, and one and most important is the positive battery cable plastic covering. I left mine on because I believe that's you know, that's the way it came. There's no need for removing that. You know, a lot of these kits, they tell you to take that stuff off, but I left mine on because I think it's safer. I mean, think about it. You're tucking this battery under a metal cowl, and you know, metal and a battery are good things. You know, just to be safe. You know, you never know when you're gonna have to reach under there to loosen up your negative battery terminal, and if you don't have those protective coverings on the positive, you know, something could happen, and you don't need to remove it anyways. and it looks more factory-ish with it on there, you know. And anytime you want to put the car back to stock, if you're going to sell it or whatever, you know, it's a lot easier to put all that stuff back, because all you pretty much got to do is just pull that positive battery cable back under the radiator hose, and pop the clips back in the radiator support like they were, and untape one wire and move it back. You know, you really don't have to move that much stuff around to install this. And the other thing is that is the antifreeze. You know, you're doing it the way I did. You know, there's really not a lot of antifreeze in those two little hoses for the throttle body. There's hardly anything in there, so you're not going to lose hardly anything there. Where you could lose a bit of antifreeze is out of the radiator hose, but if you did it like I did, you're going to lose, like I said, if that, a shot glass of antifreeze. And just don't forget, after to start the car up, leave the radiator cap off. Chances are you'll probably pull the cap off and the thing will be full, and when you run it, it'll stop pouring out of there. So you just put the cap back on, and what I did was I just filled the reservoir bottle after the car was warm. I filled it up to hot, and that was it, and I haven't had any issues till today yet. Everything's fine, and no service engine light either, which I think is funny. You know, I was concerned. I've seen so many videos of people, service engine light coming on and stuff, but cold air intake and no cats on the car. And you know, I did do the anti-foulers. I'm sure that's what's helping, but so far, knock on wood, no service engine light. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. See you on the next one.